Hey everybody, Papa Wiggs here with Wiggs. Another head-to-head. This one is interesting. Trey McBride versus Sam Laporta. Boy, both of these two kind of exploded last year, uh, coming out on the scene, especially Laporta. The Lions looked like they were geniuses. Trading Hawkinson and again drafting Laporta. Seriously. How do you do that? But Laporta had, you know, 889 yards. How many? He had 889 yards on 120 targets, 86 receptions, and wow, he had 10 touchdowns last year. Crazy, crazy rookie season. And then McBride, he had 825 yards on 81 receptions. He's another guy with 3 touchdowns. Um, wow, both of these guys are in really good offenses. Uh, it's really hard for me. I think both of these guys have a legitimate shot this year of exceeding 1,000 yards. Um, I really do. I think they are only going to go up. I think the biggest difference between the two guys is obviously the receiving touchdowns. Laporta was much more active, with his touchdowns than McBride. And I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I think with Marvin Harrison coming in, um, I just with Marvin Harrison coming in, I don't know that McBride's touchdown production is going to go up that much this year. I think Harrison's going to be active down in the red zone, just given who he is. I think Laporta has a real shot of repeating what he did last year, touchdown wise. So I'm comfortable saying that I think he's got a really good shot of hitting 10 touchdowns again. Because listen, the Lions, from an offensive perspective, they really didn't change much. You know what I mean? They've got pretty much the same guys. They actually kind of cut back on their receiving core a little bit, brought in a couple guys on their practice squad, and Tim Patrick and Al Robinson. So they haven't really changed much in their offense. Um, so I do think between St. Brown and Laporta, those are the main guys that golf is going to be looking at this year. They do have Jamison Williams. I don't want to take anything away from him and stuff, but I still think, the Lions are an interesting team because they're really explosive on offense. They do have 3 guys that potentially could break 1,000 yards. Um, you know, potentially. Okay, I know Wiggs is over here shaking his head, but I do think they have 2 guys for sure in Laporta and St. Brown that are definitely going to be,
no, I agree with that part.
Definitely get over 1,000 yards. So, on the flip side of it, McBride, actually McBride and Harrison could be a really good combination. They don't have as much depth, I feel, at the wide receiver position as the Lions do. They got Dortch there, and
Michael Wilson.
Michael Wilson, but I just don't think that their depth is as good at wide receiver. I definitely don't think their running back situation is as good. So, that's why I think McBride has a legitimate shot to get over 1,000 yards this year. I think he's only going to get better. This is only going to be his 3rd year. Yeah, both these guys have been pretty healthy for the most part. I don't see, we shouldn't hopefully see any impacts with that. So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and just say I'm gonna say both these guys get over 1,000 yards. I don't know that it's gonna be much over 1,000 yards. I think it's gonna be maybe around 1,050. I give the touchdown edge to Laporta. I think he's gonna be right around the 10 touchdown range, and I don't see McBride. I think McBride is going to be right around 3 touchdowns, maybe 4. But I think he's going to have the same touchdown production. So I do think that these guys are both going to be top 5 tight ends this year. You know, it's going to be close, but I definitely think that they have a shot of making the top five. You know, this year because of their performance last year, the fact that they're both with the same quarterbacks. Actually, you know, McBride's actually probably getting a little bit of an upgrade because Murray missed quite a bit of last year. So, you know, so it'll be interesting, but I don't know that that's gonna, you know, necessarily, you know, increase his touchdowns, but it will, I think, increase his yardage. So that's kind of, you know, my take on these guys. You know, you know, definitely both RB1s if
Tight
you
end.
or TE1s if you know, so if you're looking at a tight end early in the draft, these are two guys that you should be looking at.
Yeah, and I think both these guys, like you said, are going to be top five. I think that's I don't want to say clear, but I have a really good feeling that both of them are going to be like top four in my personal opinion. Well, maybe McBride to five. I don't know. It kind of depends on how Pitts falls in that mix, but both these guys have really good talent there at the position. McBride had to go through two different quarterbacks last year, and in that time, he ended up having 825 yards. Now, the one thing I wanted to check here was, did he have any touchdowns with Josh Dobbs? I don't think he had a single touchdown with maybe one with Dobbs. So I don't know. For me, I think that could go up this year. I think he could be around five or six. I think his yards will definitely go up just looking at his stats now. As soon as Murray got into the mix, we're talking 95-yard game, 130, a few more 80s in there. So a lot of his yards really came behind Kyler Murray. Um, didn't really have a big game until that time. So I could totally see him being over 1,000 yards, like you said. I thought right away that might have been a little crazy, but looking at the roster and the depth, I think of the guys on this team, it's really going to be a Harrison and McBride show. You know, like occasional James Conner flash when he's healthy. Maybe if he's healthy all year, the flash all year. You never know, but um, McBride should get a decent chunk of a workload this year. I could totally see him being around 120 targets. I think Harrison could be around 130, 140 himself. I think both these guys could have over 100 receptions and well over 1,000 yards. I think they're in prime position to have really good seasons. And McBride, really talented. He showed that last year. Laporta, I mean, dude came in as a freak, and like you said, the Lions just hit the jackpot with him after trading T.J. Hawkinson when everyone thought they were crazy for doing that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think um, I probably would give, you know, I definitely give the edge over to Laporta because I think that his quarterback situation in Detroit is a lot more stable than in Arizona, and I only say that because Murray's coming off his injury. Goff is pretty solid. Goff has always had a really good rapport with his tight ends wherever he's been. So I think that that's a huge advantage for Laporta too. So I think out of the two, if I were to give an, you know, like I said, I give the edge to Laporta. You know, not just because of the touchdowns, but I also think that he's in a better situation with a quarterback that likes to use his tight ends. And you know, but again, if Murray stays healthy, I agree with Wiggs. I think you're only going to see that chemistry grow there in Arizona. So it'll be really interesting to see how these guys play out. You know, throughout the year, week by week. Um, you know, I'm really excited to see how tight ends in general are going to play out this year because I think there's a lot of tight ends that are going to have good seasons. I'm not saying they're going to have, you know, every one of them is going to hit over 1,000 yards, but I think you're going to see a lot of tight ends that are going to have an active fantasy football season. And I think that it's one of the deeper tight end years that I can recall in regards to these guys being a big part of their offenses. So I'm excited to see how it shakes out. And I think both of these offenses, I think Arizona is a little underrated. I think their offense is going to be a little bit better than everybody is giving them credit for right now. especially if Murray stays healthy this year. I mean, they drafted the number one receiver in the draft. Uh, so, I mean, I think that they also drafted a really good running back in McBride behind Connor or in Benson. I'm sorry. So I think that both of these offenses are going to be good. Detroit's actually got to me is got the edge though. I mean, they're going to be definitely be more explosive, but it'll be interesting to see. The other thing with that is I think if you're looking at from a defensive perspective, I think Detroit's got a little bit of an edge, at least from who they're matching up with in their division as well from defenses. So, um, you know, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So, anything you want to add, Wiggs?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, with that, again, check us out on YouTube at Fantasy Fools PPR. We're also out on Snapchat, X, TikTok, Instagram. You know, subscribe, share, like. We appreciate all your feedback, and we hope to hear from you guys. And we hope you guys are feeling that this information is useful. Any feedback's appreciated. If you got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.